Hey everybody, it's me, Rick Acosta, the Dodger card collector, coming to you with another video. Today is Friday, April 21st. What beautiful weather we're having in Southern California. It feels like summer again. The last 2 days, temperatures in the late 70s. As Ernie Banks would say, oh my, or it's a beautiful day for a ball game. Ernie Banks would say, let's play two. It's just great weather. It's great baseball weather. As I'm recording this, the Dodgers are being no-hitted through 6 innings. Actually, a perfect game. Drew Smiley is throwing a perfect game through 6 innings. So that's interesting. That's baseball wise. As I've mentioned in the past, Dodgers look to be maybe a 500 team, maybe a little better. They win a game, they lose a game, but that's just the way things are right now. I have been watching a lot of hockey. We have played, each series has now gone through 2 games. I have stayed up late. I have had minor heart attacks. I have screamed at the TV a lot. I just love, love, love the Stanley Cup playoffs. Nothing like it. I've barely watched the NBA playoffs. I do watch if the Lakers are playing. Beyond that, I've barely seen anything. I did see Joel Embiid kick somebody yesterday. I don't know why he didn't get called for that. But we got some exciting stuff going on. We got the baseball is in the first few weeks of the regular season, and we have the NHL playoffs, the NBA playoffs. I'm hearing some NFL talk. We got the draft coming up. So good times. What's going on hobby wise? I have actually started picking up some cards recently. I actually won last night a card on the Serious Sports auctions. Is that what they're called? Serious Sports. I won an auction there surprisingly. I bid on this one card and I just threw out a bid there not thinking I'd win, and nobody ever bid on it again. So I'm going to be showing a couple of my new winnings off in this video. And I still have some other cards arriving from eBay and the Serious Buy that I'll show in my next video. Hobby wise, I don't have much going on this weekend. I just received my latest shipment. I collect, or I don't collect. I put my binders in these binder sleeves like a library. I'm very archival. I should have become a freaking librarian. But I put my sets in here, my binders, because I just didn't want any light to get in. So then I got my binder sleeve, and then here's where I put my set. It's my 1965 top set. I'm like moving all over the place. But here's where I put my binders, and then I put it up on that wall right over there. So I've got a shipment of those arriving just because I like to keep my collection kind of archival. And it's really important for me that every card has somewhere to go. My sets go in binders, my binders go in binder sleeves, my individual cards all go into top loaders into a proper filing system, and my graded cards either go on a display wall or they go in a graded display case. So I am very in that regards I'm very detailed on what I do with my collection. So just some little projects going on card wise, and I don't expect to be. I always say this. I don't expect to be picking up any cards, but lately I've bought 4 cards in the past week, and that's kind of a surprise. So I'll show 2 of them off to you today. What are we going to talk about today? I'm going to give a shout out. I don't even know if he's watching. I normally don't pay attention to how high my subscribers are or how many views I get. Probably because if I did, I'd get depressed. But the other day, I got a notification from YouTube saying I had a new subscriber, and this gentleman. I'm assuming he's a gentleman. If not, excuse me. This person, More Bama 37, is a new subscriber. He is my 162nd subscriber. And as a baseball fan, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the number 162? Personally, that's how many games were played in a season. So I was looking at how many players have played 162 games. Then I go, I can't do a show based on how many guys have played 162 shows. But what I was surprised about was how many guys have played more than 162 games. Now, some of you are going to say, how on earth do you play more than 162 games? There's only 162 games in the season. And I totally agree with you. There are more than 30 players that have played more than 162 games in a season. I'm going to show off a few of them to you, and I'll explain how they played more than 162 games. So I'll show you that. And plus, I'm going to do a short, like I said, one of my cards I just picked up. I just finished one of my Dodger team sets. So I want to show that off to you guys. So let's turn the camera around and we'll get you guys going. So I'm going to show you the 1927 W560 Dodger team set. But before I do that, I want to show you one of the cards I picked up this week. And this is another team set I'm working on for the Dodgers. This is the 1934 Batter Up Hack Wilson. This is the second Hack Wilson card I own. I own a 33 Gowdy on the Dodgers and a 34 Gowdy, or a 34 Batter Up. And I would say they're both in poor condition, and they were both really expensive. I'm really surprised how expensive Hack Wilson is. And I feel I got this card at it for a deal, just because, I'll be honest, I spent $100 on this card, and every time a Hack Wilson card pops up on eBay, it just seems to go for tons more. I bought this card directly from Clean Sweep Auctions, and it's a pretty good card. I mean, this is a card I would like to have in better condition, just because I love the Dodger uniforms. And it's a blank back, and you can see this is supposed to pop up. You're supposed to pop up his body. I have 9 of the 10. I need one more card, Freddie Lindstrom, and then I'll be able to say I finished this set. But this card was for me, this was the hard card to find and to get. And that's one of the things I'm noticing in my 30s and late 20s collections is it's getting really hard to find some of these cards. And then when they do come out, it's like somebody wants me to mortgage my house just to buy the card. So I guess I just have to be patient, and I have been patient. And little by little, a card that I need creeps up. I need like 5 more cards from the late 20s, early 30s. And then I could put that to rest, which would really only leave me with the 1915 Cracker Jack set. So that is my Hack Wilson card from the Batter Up set. Now, here's a card that I just picked up to finish my Dodger team set from 1927. This is the 1927 W560 card of Del Bissonette in an SGC1. What I know about this set is there are variations of every card, and you're going to notice I'm going to show off the rest of this team set. These cards were made either, as this one shows you, black background, black circle, red photo. Sometimes the photo is in black and the background is in red. Sometimes you're going to see an all red card, and I'm going to show you that one next. And sometimes you'll have, in one case, one of the cards I have, you'll have an all black card. So there's variations of these. I'm not going to go into that, or I'm not going to buy those for my collection. One of each is more than enough for me. When it comes to variations, I really will only do a variation if it's a brand new, like a different photo. 1962 Topps comes to mind. Wally Moon and Lee Walls both had separate, had different cards, completely different cards, different photos. So I did go ahead and buy those, but I won't be doing this for 1927. But here's Del Bissonette. And I'm assuming since these are hand cut, you're gonna see a lot of SGC ones. This was hard to find, and somebody had one for $85, and I sat on it for months and I never bought it. And then this one popped up on eBay. I was able to pay $23 for it. So in that regards, I was pretty happy. So that's Del Bissonette. Now here's the case of an all red card. So I've got the red photo, the red card. This is Waddy Clark. Now, the thing that surprises me is that this set, all the cards I thought were hand cut, but for some reason, this card got an SGC 9. But here's Waddy Clark. A friend of mine had asked me, are these real baseball cards or are these playing cards? And I believe these are strip cards. So these were actually given out. They're meant to look like playing cards, but in this case, if you're thinking of getting some Hall of Famers, I know for a fact the Walter Johnson card in this set is way cheaper than buying a T206 or a T205. I think you might even have a T212 or a Cracker Jack card. The cards in this set are a lot cheaper, so that's something to think about. If you're just trying to get a Hall of Fame card of a player you really admire, check out the 1927 W560. And that's Waddy Clark. Here is Babe Herman, the one card I have not graded. So in this case, we got the red background with the black circle and the black and white photo. This shows you the actual size of the card. And that's the actual back. I'm not entirely, I like the strip cards from the 20s. I like them from the late 20s though. So I'm only working 1927, 1928, 1929. I think there's a 1931 set I'm also working on. But in the early 20s, you get a lot of cartoon cards. And at some point I have to stop. So at 1927, it looks like I'm going to stop there. But here is one Babe Herman. I got a little distracted because I noticed that I just got a notification the Dodgers lost on my phone, and I was trying to read if the perfect game was broken up. I think it was. Could be wrong. Last card from this set, and this one's all black, and that's the Dazzy Vance card. Hand cut, 6 of spades. It's just an interesting set. And like I say, the Dodgers only had 4 of these, so I thought, let's get these. This counts as a multiplayer set. It's not a baseball set just because I think there's some boxing cards. I think Jack Dempsey might have a card, and I believe there could be golf. I could be wrong on that. And there's also speculation that this set isn't really from 1927, but from 1929, just because a couple of players, I believe one of them's on the Cardinals, his cards listed that he plays for the Cardinals, and he didn't start playing for the Cardinals till like late 28 or 1929. So there's speculation on the actual release date, but I'm going to stick with the 1927 because that's what I'm going to go by, because that's what PSA and TCDB and VCP, all those websites go by. So that is a look at the 1927 W560 set. It's a nice little set, and I'm happy to finish that set. So let's jump over to my next column here. So I mentioned at the earlier part of the video that there are players that have played more than 162 games. So it's happened a good 30 times. I'm only going to talk about several of the players who have done it. I believe the last time it happened was in 1998. Albert Bell, or Joey Bell, as I remember him. He played 163 games in 1998. But some of you might be asking, and I know I did when I heard this, I was kind of like, how do you play more than 162 games if it doesn't involve a playoff game? Well, in the case of these 3 guys, Billy Williams, Ron Santo, and Ernie Banks, in 1965, they all played more than 162 games. Banks and Williams played 163, and Ron Santo played 164 games. And the reason being, some of you will remember, was that Wrigley Field did not have lights back in 1965. And they tended to play a lot of day games. And if the day game, if it got dark, the game would be I remember them being suspended. But at this point, Major League Baseball was calling them ties. So the Cubs played a tie game on April 12th, 1965, which was the Cubs' home opener against the Cardinals. It was 10-10. And it was called because of darkness. And then a few weeks later, against the Mets, second game of a doubleheader, started at 4:41 in the afternoon. After 3 hours, the game was called due to darkness. They tied the Mets 3-3. So technically, if you look at the Cubs records, and I don't have the exact record in front of me, I didn't write it down, so I'm just going to make this part up. But in the record, it would say they would still play 162 games, so they were 92-70, let's say. But when I looked it up in Baseball Reference, it would be 92 wins, 70 losses, and 2 ties. I don't know if MLB does this to this day. I think now they suspend games. But as I mentioned, Albert Bell, 25 years ago, played 163 games. Cal Ripken, Bobby Bonilla, they also played 163 games. But here are 3 guys that played extra games because of games called due to darkness. Cesar Tovar and Frank Taveras both played 164 games, but for different reasons. Tovar, similar to the 3 guys on the Cubs, he played 164 games in 1967. I don't have his 1967 card, so I'm featuring his 1970 card here. He played 164 games. Both of his ties were because of rain delays or postponement due to rain. June 21st, 1967, against the Tigers. The game finished in a 5-5 tie. July 25th, 1967, against the Yankees. 1-1. Game ended 1-1. Those were both due to rain. And back then, since the game was played more than 5 innings, MLB called it a tie game. I don't think that would happen today. Frank Taveras, though, on the other hand, his was a little different. In 1979, he played 164 games. He played 11 games with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Then he was traded after 11 games to the New York Mets in a deal that brought Tim Foley to the Pirates. And at that point, the Pirates still had only played 9 games. So Taveras played the next 153 games for the Mets. So he played 11 games for the Pirates, got traded to the Mets, where he played 153 for a total of 164 games. That is how Frank Taveras ended up playing 164 games. In 1962, Jose Pagan of the San Francisco Giants played in 164 games. His excuse was a little different than the previous guys. He played 161 games during the regular season. But that year in 1962, the Giants played the Dodgers in a 3-game playoff. They were tied for first at the end of the season. Back then, they would play a 3-game series. So Pagan played 164 games. Then he went on. Unfortunately, the Giants beat the Dodgers in the playoff, and Pagan went on to play 7 more games for the Giants in the World Series against the New York Yankees. And I don't have a 1962 card of him, so here he is featured in his 1965 Topps, and that's Jose Pagan. And the player who has played the most games, was 165 games in one season, was Maury Wills. Same story similar to Jose Pagan, except in 1962, Wills played all 162 regular season games, then played the 3 playoff games, and that gave it a total of 165. One of the things of these playoff games, I think we literally just got rid of the playoff games in the last year or two. A playoff game still counts with regular season stats. So when the Yankees played the Red Sox in 1978, when the Dodgers played the Giants in 1951 and 1962, those are still regular season games. And in this case, like I said, Wills played 3 games. He played a total of 165 games. And in that 165 games, Wills was able to steal his 104 bases. He was voted the 1962 most valuable player of the National League. And Wills didn't have a contract with Topps. And technically, his rookie card is considered the 1963 Fleer card, which I'm showing here to the left. But what I didn't know till a couple of years ago, and I don't know if I've learned this from YouTube, or I probably learned it from YouTube, was that the 1960 World Series card that features the 1959 World Series, with Luis Aparicio stealing second base. That's Maury Will. That's Maury Wills right there. So that was Maury's first appearance on a Topps card, and that was in 1960. But his first real Topps card wouldn't come out till 1967, when he was now a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Naturally, the 1963 Fleer is considered his rookie card, and it's a pretty good looking set. I do like that set. I do have the Dodger team set on that. A buddy of mine has the entire set, the entire 66 card set, I believe it is, and I'm always kind of like saying, when are you going to sell that? Sell it to me. But that's a look at the players that played more than 162 games, and we got to see some good cards. Here's some interesting stories, hopefully. And if you stuck around this long, thanks so much for watching. We will talk to you guys all very soon. Have a great weekend.